This guide has been inspected and approved by Luminous.
Hey guys, this is Sunsfan and welcome to the official Dota Cinema Guide to Phantom Assassin. If you aren't familiar with this hero, you may want to watch the introduction we did for her at the corresponding link. Phantom Assassin, otherwise known as PA, is an agility hard carry. She's very item dependent, but if given time to farm, will have the capability of destroying a hero in a single swipe. Skill build. Skilling PA can be quite dependent on who you're laning against. Typically speaking, you'll want to max Stifling Dagger by 7. This will give you the ability to both last hit creeps consistently, as well as slow enemies during a team engagement. Make sure not to level anything until you're sure you're out of harm's way though. Sometimes a level of Phantom Strike at 1 may be needed to get out of a hairy situation. As you may have guessed, Phantom Strike will be the second skill you'll be focusing on. Leveling this past 1 will only reduce the cooldown, but being able to use it every 5 seconds can be quite important. Now the real question is, do you level your ultimate at 6 or wait until 10 and 11? An older rendition of PA, there would have been a good argument to skip the ultimate until later, because Phantom Strike scaled a lot better. But nowadays, the lowered cooldown really doesn't take precedence over some extra punch your ultimate may provide, so get it at the standard 6, 11, and 16. This of course leaves Blur for last. The reason for this is because the physical evasion usually doesn't become too important until you start getting yourself involved in heavier skirmishes. You could opt to skill it at level 4 if you're taking heavy auto attack harassment in lane, but if not, then just wait until your other skills are leveled up. Item build. For starting, get your basic regeneration in combination with some branches to turn into a wand, and either a stout shield or quelling blade. You should have a decent idea of what you'll be going up against in lane, so if you feel you'll be getting harassed, then pick up a stout shield, which you can turn into a poor man's shield. If not, then get a quelling blade for last hitting. If you do choose to go the defensive route, then just note that you still will need a quelling blade at some point in the game. Boots for PA are either power treads or phase boots. This really comes down to personal preference. If you're into the stats gain, as well as stats manipulation that comes with treads, then enjoy your purchase. If you feel you need a little bit more damage to go along with chaseability, then phase boots will do you just fine. The first main item PA players typically go for is a Battle Fury. PA gets cleave because she's 1, very item dependent, and this will boost her farm. 2, she could really use some form of health regeneration, and 3, her critical strike makes a Battle Fury a great item since her farm will be that much more efficient. Speaking of efficiency, if you haven't purchased a quelling blade at this point, please do so. After Battle Fury is finished, PA's last quote-unquote core item will be a BKB. She has good physical evasion, so why not make her that much harder to kill from the big weakness that she has, which of course is magic damage. After this point, there are quite a few luxury items that PA players could think about getting. If you want to get lifesteal, you have a choice between Vlad's, which is nice, or if you want even more survivability, a Helm of Dominator into a Satanic. For damage, a Skull Basher into Abyssal Blade is a popular choice to go with, along with an MKB. A big no-no for PA players is getting a Butterfly. Do not do this since the evasion will not stack at all. Gameplay. Laning with PA is honestly not too bad. She doesn't have the extreme survivability that some other carries have, such as a Void or an Anti-Mage, but she makes up for that with her ability to last hit creeps even in the worst of lanes. Remember that Stifling Dagger deals pure damage and only has an 8-second cooldown. The mana cost is almost negligible, but at the same time try not wasting it on heroes since it will only do half damage to them. And because of the low mana cost, PA doesn't really need mana regeneration aside from the Battle Fury pickup. But in essence, Stifling Dagger on heroes should only be looked at as a slow. There is a cool mechanic with the dagger that we should mention, and that it's actually unavoidable. So slowing blinking heroes can actually be pretty effective. Phantom Strike on the other hand is kind of a follow-up to Stifling Dagger. Typically you'll dagger a hero and follow it up with a Phantom Strike in order to take advantage of the extra attack speed that comes from it. Keep in mind that if you switch targets before your attack speed buff is complete, then it will dissipate immediately. Blur is a very good passive against other hard right clickers. That is until they get an MKB, of course. But the evasion isn't the only benefit it offers you. It makes you harder to see in a couple of ways. When a non-invisible enemy hero is near, she'll become semi-transparent. This may not seem like a huge deal, but you can lose track of PA pretty quickly in a teamfight. But a more important feature of this spell is that you will not be seen on the minimap when near enemy heroes. which actually is a big deal in many cases because good players typically look at the minimap for a large portion of games. There's not too much to add to coup de grace other than you can hit like a freaking beast. Hitting the 1000 damage mark is very common with this hero, which of course makes having a battle fury that much more ridiculous. Usually at this point we'll go over your role in team fights, but that should be pretty obvious by now. You jump in and right click. But instead of going over the obvious, I want to talk about the usage of BKB, because it's probably the most critical thing to keep in mind. For survivability in teamfights, PA needs to use BKB effectively. This means that if you pick it up at a relatively early rate, don't waste the 10 and 9 second charges just because. Try and be as judicious as possible with your activations. By the time you hit your 5-second BKB time, you might want to think about selling it and purchasing a new one if you're having trouble staying alive. She may seem like a beast on paper, but just remember that at the end of the day, you're still relying on a percentage chance to deal a lot of freaking damage. Friends and foes. Friends of Phantom Assassin will be those that can get her through the laning stage. This could mean several things. Perhaps a hero that is good at harassing the enemy, therefore allowing you to right-click some creeps. Examples of this would be Venomancer and Lich. More aggressive heroes that will give her opportunity to get some kills because of long-range initiation would include the likes of Tidehunter and Earthshaker. Heroes that PA would rather not go against are pretty easy to come by. Anyone who possesses some good burst damage. There are way too many heroes to fit that description, so we'll just have to name a few, such as Tiny, Queen of Pain, and Zeus. A special mention must go out to Doombringer though, whose ultimate Doom will disable every single one of your skills, including your critical strike, as well as go through BKB. Talk about a hard counter. Thanks for watching, guys, and please remember to subscribe to our YouTube. Also, a big thanks to Flawless and Luminous who helped create this guide. You can check them out at their YouTube channels, which are linked in the video description. Also, be sure to check out our website at dotacinema.com and like us on Facebook at facebook.com/dotacinema.